going on with them, and we're back up on the YouTube live stream here as we think we got the microphone set. As we're doing all of this, the quarterbacks, J.J. McCarthy at 13. If he's available at 13, the quarterback of Michigan, who had 3 years training under Jim Harbaugh, yeah, I'd take him at 13. I think he's a good player. I think he's a really good franchise quarterback. He threw well. His interviews were really good. I think when you take a look at exactly what happened there, if he was there at 13, if Michael Penix was there at 13, I don't think Michael Penix is a 13 overall grade, but if the Raiders got him at 13 or Bo Nix, and you parked him and said, hey, man, they're going to be the quarterbacks, go down that road, I'm good with that. I'm good with anything, everybody. You know how many years I've been sitting here behind Raiders radio on microphone saying I'm good with everybody they draft. I like everyone they draft initially. It's that when they have a bad player or a bust or a Damon Arnett, or they go too early for Cleve Farrell, or, go after Darius Hayward-Bay or Fabian Washington in the first round, we got to clean it up. We got to go clean it up eventually and tell everybody that the pick wasn't good. I don't see us doing that here. I don't think we're going to be, doing this. I don't think I'm going to be sitting here down the road and saying, oh my God, the Raiders picked blank in the first round. What a disaster pick that was. I was the guy last year in front of Fred Biletnikoff and Jim Plunkett that went on stage after we took Tyree Wilson, number 7 overall. I was like, whoa, that feels like, I don't know. I didn't think he'd go number 7 overall to the Raiders, but he did. Dave Ziegler liked him. They drafted a guy who was injured. They drafted a guy who was hurt and injured and had a medical issue because they believed in his overall upside. I'm not going to look at Tyree Wilson after year 1 and say that he wasn't a good player. It's year 1. You hopefully have this guy for 5 years, and if he plays at a very high level, then all of a sudden you look back at that pick and say, man, great, that's a hell of a pick if it works out that way. So the quarterback insanity is here. And as I told Bobby as we opened up the show, I'm going to embrace it. I want content. I want good content that is going to keep my audience growing and my partners and advertisers happy. That is a quarterback in the first round. How are you going to get there? Also, it's free agency. I like free agency, and I really like it this year for the Raiders because they have added money thanks to Jimmy Garoppolo giving us a free $10, $11 million. Jimmy G left a nice bag of cash on the side of Las Vegas Boulevard for us. So we got that going. The cap went up. We already had some cap space. So I think with all of this, there's an opportunity to go big in the draft. Here's the show. Here's the show going forward for the next month. Do you want to give up a lot to move up, or do you want to stand pat? Historically, I'd stand pat. Historically, I would, not this year. This year, I'd be encouraged to go up and maybe do something bold in the first round at the quarterback position. Does that mean I know? No. Just amazed that some people think I know, which is a compliment. It's a compliment, I would hope. And over the years, I have known some things. But I'm not going to reach. When Jamarcus Russell went number 1, I knew he was going number 1. Because I also knew 10 teams wanted him at number 1, and 10 would have took him at number 2. That wasn't Einstein stuff. That was Captain Obvious stuff. This one's a little bit more complex. This one is how you're going to get up from 13 to 3 or 4 or 5. And now some of the clickbait out there coming off the combine says that J.J. McCarthy of Michigan might be a better pick overall than Jaden Daniels. I like Jaden Daniels because he can run. We need a quarterback who understands how to tuck and run for 30 yards, not 13, when the game is on the line. Caleb Williams is great at that, and so is Jaden Daniels. Those two are great. I don't know. I think Drake May can run if he has to, but he's not an elite runner. And I think J.J. McCarthy's more of a system pocket passer who can move side to side. And then you got Bo Nix, who's tough. And then Michael Penix, the way he throws that deep ball, that spiral, pretty incredible. So that's what we're going to do. People now are asking about medical flags. Let me say this about Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams is a really good kid, and a lot of people know him. He doesn't have to give you his medicals. If you're picking 4th, you're not getting Caleb Williams. How dare you think he needs to give the New York Giants at number 6 his medicals? He ain't going to the Giants at number 6. He'll give his medicals to the Bears. if the Bears draft him, or he'll give him to the Washington Commanders. So he's not injured. Worry about the medicals of Kirk Cousins and the medicals of a guy named Aaron Rodgers. Both those guys blew out their Achilles. You want to see their medicals more than you want to see a college kid who's healthy. And then the offensive linemen look deep. The Raiders need offensive linemen, plural. They need multiple offensive linemen. And then another compelling thing is, and we're up and running on YouTube, the microphone's perfect. The other big thing is, can the Raiders add to the defensive line at number 13? So say they don't get the quarterback, and at number 13, they get the defensive tackle out of Texas, or they get an elite defensive middle tackle, and all of a sudden the defensive line is now set. It's a beast. And you need a great defensive line to beat Mahomes. So why not go all in and go get a defensive tackle who can start? The only question I have there is we've had some defensive tackles drafted here who can't get on the field, and I would hate to see that happen again in a quarterback draft. So the wide receivers are amazing. Rome Odunze was incredible at the combine. He stayed late and kept working on one drill, as everybody saw that. The wide receivers, there's 4 or 5 of them, starting with Marvin Harrison Jr. So there's going to be probably 4 or 5 wide receivers in the first round, 6 offensive linemen. And as I tweeted out today, could there be 6 quarterbacks that could go in the first round? Yeah, there could be 6. The captain, the 3 big ones are Caleb Williams 1, Drake May 2, Jaden Daniels 3, and maybe a team trading up, i.e. the Raiders. And then you're going to have J.J. McCarthy, who 100% is going in the first round. Bo Nix and Michael Penix. That's 6 quarterbacks in the first round, everybody. Good luck getting a quarterback after that, because if you get a quarterback after this time, if you go after another Aiden O'Connell 4th-round pick, you better not take a quarterback. You better not. You already got Aiden O'Connell in the 4th round. He's good. We got a 4th-round quarterback in Aiden O'Connell who might have now a 2nd-round grade if he was coming out, because he played well under duress and he's a pretty good player. So that's what we're hitting on here. 702-365-9200. What was the biggest takeaway that you had overall, the big one, that you thought was very interesting and went down, and you think is going to be a game changer at the combine? If it's a game changer at the combine, what do you think is going to happen overall? Do you believe that this will be the year that the Raiders get the quarterback? And that's going to be a topic that we have every day. Every day until this problem is solved on the flagship of the Raiders, we are going to jump in and figure out how to get a quarterback. And I like the veterans too. TJ Reeves will join us at 1 o'clock. He's the Buccaneer sideline reporter, also a national play-by-play voice in college football. Mike Evans signed a contract extension with Tampa Bay. And TJ claims, and you'll hear it here on the radio coming up in less than an hour, that Baker Mayfield is not in play. Baker Mayfield is definitely going to Tampa. I'm going to push back. I want to know what the Raiders can do to look at Baker Mayfield to see if he's available. I mean, if you're looking at a college kid, if you're going to go to the combine and look at Michael Penix and his injuries, you're going to look at Baker Mayfield. He went to the playoffs last year and he won the Heisman Trophy, and he's really young and he's healthy. So some of the free agent quarterbacks, and Kirk Cousins is looking for his 3rd guaranteed contract in a row. Guaranteed. He wants 3 years guaranteed. Kirk Cousins. All right. I'd look at that too. And then the other free agent quarterbacks, they're okay. They don't wow me. If the Raiders end up getting a veteran quarterback here and go with Aiden O'Connell, that means they missed out on a quarterback because it was too expensive. And if it was too expensive and Tom Telesco thinks it's too expensive, in Tom we trust. So that's it. Wanted to clean up what was blowing up on my Twitter over the weekend. JT the Brick giving secret detailed information about the Raiders draft. Oh my God. Oh my God. Yeah, I got the code. I got the code. I got the code to the draft sitting right in between Antonio and Tom. I have the pick already. They gave it to me a month ago. God. All right. I want to, Chris Mortensen passed away, and that was a big deal. I didn't know Mort well. I met him a couple of times. Met him at the Hall of Fame at one of our events, which was nice, a Raider event. And gentlemen, everybody talked about him being better in life. And he was a brilliant Hall of Fame insider. And he passed away. It was pretty emotional over the weekend here. Everybody who chimed in on Mort passing away talked about how great of a human being he was, his faith, his wife, his son. So here's Daniel Jeremiah, who was on the broadcast with Rich Eisen when they broke the news.
With some absolutely devastating news. I'm Mortensen when I was 26 years old, when he was the GOAT in the making for the worldwide leader in sports, ESPN, one of the best football reporters but we've ever known. He was so nice to me. He was so welcoming to me when I first got there. The news just broke a few minutes ago that Chris Mortensen passed away at the age of 72 just this morning, and I know you got to know him, and you love this man.
Yeah, he's my mentor. He's one of my best friends. I've said it many times. I don't even talk about me. He's done everything for me. I've told that. I don't want to tell that story.
Sure.
I just want to look at the camera and tell Mickey, his wife, and Alex, his son, that every time I talk to Mort, you guys came up because he was so proud of you. He loves you so much. You're always in his heart. You're always on his mind. He's a sweet, sweet person with a sweet family. And that's what I'm thinking about right now.
We're thinking about you and everybody else that got to know Chris Mortensen. Again, he's just one of the sweetest souls you will have ever met. He loved this sport, and he loved being on top of it and getting you is interested in loving the sport as much as we obviously do. And I send my condolences.
No, he loved this game too. He texted me yesterday. He wanted to know how Rattler was going to do in the workout. So we talked about Rattler. We were texting back and forth yesterday. He loved this game, and that's why when we found out about this, the last thing I want to do is just come out here. But man, he'd have punched me in the face if we didn't do this and have fun and enjoy this great game that he loved so much.
Love you, Daniel Jeremiah.
Love you too, man.
You are awesome. You are awesome, and we send our condolences to the Mortensen family and to the family at ESPN who put Mort on the air and put him in all of our lives. Rest in peace, Chris Mortensen. Godspeed.
I thought that was pretty good. That was really emotional from Daniel Jeremiah from NFL Network. Good guy, really good guy. Took over for Mike Mayock in that role when Mike came over to the Raiders to be the GM, and everybody loved Chris Mortensen. All the former and current ESPN anchors said something great about him. So there's a couple of people in our chat on YouTube saying, rest in peace, Mr. Mortensen. Condolences to your family. He was really good. You know, the era of the NFL insider going back to Jimmy the Greek with gambling, or all the ones that you know, Jay Glazer, who I worked with for a long time, other ones around. It's very important when your mentor, I wanted to mention this too, and this isn't a plug, this is just my life. You know, my mentor, Andrew Ashwood, was my radio mentor, and he passed away, and I wrote a book about him called The Handoff. That was my way of paying tribute to him when he passed away from terminal cancer, and I was with him throughout the fight. I put together a book, and really proud of it because it was the only time I was able to write a book about a mentor. And you can tell from Daniel Jeremiah, he lost his mentor. I know what that feels like. It's heavy. It takes a long time to recover from that. You're never the same. And that's why I like to mentor a lot of people in this business. When I started, like to help out other people, because it seemed like Chris Mortensen was the best at that. He helped out a lot of people along the way. People who went to ESPN, started there, got in the NFL business, needed advice. And that's really important. You know, when you get an opportunity in life and someone asks you for advice, it's an honor. It really is. I don't care if you're a plumber, you're an attorney, or a doctor, you're a radio host. Someone says, hey, man, you got a few minutes? Can I give you some advice? I talk about that with Mike North, who comes on the show. Mike North, who comes on the show, and others. And, you know, I always say that it's really important. It's really important that you help out other people when people need help. And it sounds like that's what Chris Mortensen was able to do. So I wanted to get that into the monologue as we open it up here. 702-365-9200. If you want to comment on that as we get rolling here, that's a topic also. And we'll continue on. Oh, the NASCAR final. I was out at NASCAR. I want to thank Jeff Motley and the whole entire team out there that does an unbelievable job. They gave us great access. We were in the pits. We were everywhere. We're on the track beforehand, got a chance to hang out with Chris Myers and some other people around. And it was just really cool to have the access for their final call from NASCAR on a beautiful day out at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway.
And that was all Kyle Larson putting his car in the right spot in front of Tyler Reddick. Tyler Reddick went to the bottom of the racetrack and he lost all that momentum. This whole race has been all Kyle Larson. You put that kid behind the wheel of a race car like this, at Hendrick Motorsports, and he will get the job done. Old-fashioned butt whooping all day long. Kyle Larson. Two of the best in the business come off turn number 4. Reddick got within a car length, but Kyle Larson scores his 24th career win for Rick Hendrick and Chevrolet.
NASCAR on Fox. He was dominant all day. Great to be out at the track. So that's the monologue brought to you by PTs. They fuel the monologue. Happy hour is every day, 5 to 7, midnight to 2. Go out there and have a really good time at PTs, and you can watch NASCAR. You can watch anything they had this weekend. There's a big basketball game tomorrow night, UNLV and San Diego State. Man, what a job Kevin Kruger and this team has done here in the last couple of weeks heading into the Mountain West tournament coming up around the corner, which we'll be hosting a show out there over at Thomas and Mack. Also, found out that I'm going to be the MC of Max Crosby's foundation event at UFC over at Apex. That is coming up on the 14th of this month. If you want to get tickets, just go Google Max Crosby Foundation. If you want to buy a table, want to buy an individual ticket, we'll be honoring Dana White. That's a big deal. Max and Dana White became really good friends quickly, and Dana White's going to get the first ever award and acknowledgement from Max Crosby and their foundation. Really happy to be a part of that too in a small way. So that's it. If you want to talk about the quarterback, again, this is the time of year I expect no one to call, everybody to check out, and I don't. Okay, again, this is not a giveaway, a T-shirt, call the show stuff. This is if you're a Raider fan and you got an opinion on a quarterback, if you got an opinion on a draft pick, I have all the opinions. I got a lot of them. I want to have people that agree and disagree with me. What the priority should be with the Raiders post-combine. Now, if you didn't watch the combine, you don't have to participate. If you watched the combine and you saw the quarterbacks and you saw people run the 40 and you saw the drills and you like a player, and you think it could be a fit with the Raiders, I only care if it's a fit in the first or second round. I don't care about the 5th round pick. It's not a good radio topic for someone who's not going to be there in the 5th round. We want to talk about the stars, the impact guys, the people that could come in and have a huge, huge impact for the Raiders. Who do I think it's going to be? I'd like it to be Jaden Daniels, to clarify. I'd like it to be a quarterback. But if a quarterback's too expensive, I'm not paying and writing checks. Tom Telesco knows the budget, what these guys are worth. I like free agency. I think the Raiders can get a right tackle and a defensive tackle in free agency. Imagine if they do that. Imagine if the Raiders come out of free agency and they got a defensive tackle and another starting offensive lineman before the draft. How cool would that be? I mean, that to me would be unbelievable. Unbelievable. So we'll see how it plays out. If a quarterback seems to be what everybody wants to talk about, and I'm all for that too. I think it's a really important topic for the Raiders. And look, I didn't want them to get the 2nd or 3rd pick overall because we would have been in the tank all year last year. Raiders won games, and everybody also is aware of the fact that if the Raiders didn't win games at the end of the year, Antonio Pierce wouldn't be here as the head coach. He probably wouldn't be here. They probably would have they brought him back, but what would he do? Go from interim head coach to linebacker coach? No. No. So Antonio Pierce needed to win games. He was able to do it. As around the league, most people thought the Raiders were checked out. And the Raiders have the 13th pick instead of a top 5 pick. And now they're going to have to act accordingly. 702-365-9200 on YouTube as we're figuring out this process, which is not a complicated process, but has been for me. Trying to find the stream, the right computer, the right lighting, right all that. We will work through this well before the draft. Free agency and the start of the season there. Jump on in today. If you went to rugby, if you went to NASCAR, if you went to any of the events this weekend, tell me how it was. I think it's one of the most underrated weekends in all of Vegas. To get that rugby, bring that back, please. And to also have the opportunity to have NASCAR here twice a year, bravo. JT, back here on a Monday. We are live in the flagship studios of Raider Nation Radio. All right, so
Gotta wait a couple minutes to go get Harry.
Yep.
35.
Yeah, I just don't know why I'm frozen and I can't get in the chat. So, hey, my screen is What's that? Yeah, my screen is frozen right here, which is interesting.
You got 40 people.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's still working. It's just frozen.
Can I talk in the chat there if I do it here?
Yeah, if you just pull up. You can pull it up on your phone and read the chat.
Why was my YouTube?
Just when you know you used it. It saves guys.
Oh, does it?
Click that. search your name. But that's YouTube too. You have YouTube.
Yeah, I do. That's why.
Just search it up. Search YouTube.
That should be in there already, right?
Click that.
18 minutes ago.
Yeah, you can just probably go. Just search your. Just search your name. Yeah, just click that.
Yep.
And then you should pop up, yeah, right there.
This one?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Turn your phone down.
Yeah.
And then you can still hear see whoever talks. It's lagging right there right now. That's what I was saying. Those Macs are
Yeah.
perfect. But yeah.
Here's something I can put into this YouTube stream. What is the best computer for the YouTube? Is it a PC or a Mac?
PC would be good. But that's
Well, I had a PC that was running perfectly, and then this stuff was so strong, it just knocked the shit out of it.
It's going to be Telesco coming back, talking about scouting quarterback.
Who's that?
Telesco.
Let's go.
Your caregiver can get paid instantly as soon as their shift is done. Call 702-766-6643 and talk to Freedom Care about having your friends or family take care of you and get paid to do it with instant payments. No more worrying about getting care from an aid at an agency. Freedom Care helps you choose who you want to take care of you and that person gets paid. Call Freedom Care at 702-766-6643. That's 702-766-6643 to enroll in this program now. You get a caregiver you know and trust.
I like this JJ McCarthy after the combine more than before. I mean, they're all supposed to look good at the combine and say the right things and do good on interviews, but I thought it was pretty good. I also thought Bo Nix threw well. He was bigger than I thought.
It's gonna be like a car.
Steve says JJ is Zach Wilson 2.0. I don't remember Zach Wilson playing the competition that Michigan played. I don't remember Zach Wilson in the national championship game.
People at the combine.
My son says that Zach fooled people at the combine. You are right about that. No,
Or the
Zach Wilson, yeah, at the pro day when he threw that reverse throw across his body.
You're going to go for about 3-4 minutes. I'm going to get Harry.
Yeah.
Yeah, JJ.
Yep.
Is JJ McCarthy better than Baby O'Connell?
Is JJ McCarthy?
What record would you think JJ McCarthy would win more games?
Welcome back to the JT the Brick Show, brought to you by PT's, the best happy hour in town, 5 to 7 p.m. and midnight to 2 a.m.
I'll say this, and the way we've always scouted, we scout every position like our roster is empty. So just because the last team had a quarterback doesn't mean they didn't have a quarterback. So you look at everything, you never know what's going to happen in this league. So, yeah, so I've seen most of them. It's a pretty deep class. The last 5 or 6 years, especially skill positions as far as receivers and quarterbacks, they've been very deep classes, and they've been coming in the league and contributing earlier than they used to. I think a lot of that has to do with high school football, and some are 7-on-7. The fact that teams throw the ball so much more in high school than they used to, as well as in college. So we're getting players coming to this level, quarterbacks, receivers, who are really pretty skilled. So I think that's a positive, but I think this year's class is relatively deep. I think next year's class is really early on, but there could be some depth there as well.
I like what Tom Telesco said about, these kids are coming out. Now they're men. They're playing 7-on-7. They've been throwing it. They've been whipping the ball around in college more than ever. So they're ready to play in the NFL. But if you look at Jordan Love and Patrick Mahomes, the scenario becomes you want to park your quarterback for a year and maybe not let him play or just play. Jordan Love's the best example. He sat for years behind Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers sat for years behind Brett Favre. Alex Smith was a very good quarterback in this league, and Mahomes sat behind him for most of year one. A lot of people on the chat on YouTube are asking me, to rank the top 5 quarterbacks. Steven JR said, talk about your top 5 quarterback rankings in this year's draft. It's simple. Caleb Williams 1, Jaden Daniels 2, Drake May 3, J.J. McCarthy 4, and then it's between Penix and Bo Nix. I like Penix. I think Penix is a better quarterback, but he's the injuries that he's had, and he's healed, but the knee and the shoulder, he's a little bit older beyond his years from the hits he took. And Bo Nix is older. He played a lot of football, stayed in college a lot of years. Remember, we're talking about these COVID players too, and some players that extended their career because they could, because of some of the COVID rules. But when it comes to J.J. McCarthy, he's probably the most ready. Robert Alf says, rumor is New England, the Patriots like J.J. Oh, I think the Patriots also like Jaden Daniels, I read. So who likes these quarterbacks? Everybody, this is the smoke screen. What's happening now is the giant smoke screen. Everybody who has a top pick wants you to trade or do something reckless to get that pick. Chicago Bears are at the top of that. I think the Chicago Bears, after the combine, probably looked at Caleb Williams and heard everybody see him and what they had to say and say, we can't afford not to take him. I mean, if Chicago doesn't take Caleb Williams and he turns out to be the next Mahomes, because Caleb Williams is better than Mahomes coming out of college, no debate. Caleb Williams better at Oklahoma USC than Patrick Mahomes was at Texas Tech. Fact. Mahomes turned out maybe to be the greatest of all time if he has an outside chance to go out there and pass Brady, where if he keeps winning Super Bowls and he has a three-peat, it's going to look a lot like LeBron versus Jordan. We're going to look a lot like LeBron Jordan when it comes to Mahomes and Brady. Speaking of LeBron, 40,000 points, 40,000 points for LeBron James. You got to be kidding me there. Just incredible. Unbelievable. Then you see the Warriors get blasted by the Celtics. Were they down at 50 at one point? They were down 50 at one point, the Warriors. I put the tweet out. I think it'll age well. If it doesn't, you know where to find me. The Warriors and the Lakers combined have a 0 chance to win the NBA Finals. Not even a 5% chance. The Lakers have no chance. Don't tell me if they're healthy. The Lakers stink other than LeBron and Anthony Davis. And every once in a while, someone hits an open shot. Austin Reeves hits an open shot. Give me a break. Denver would eat the Lakers and spit them out. And so would Denver to the Warriors. And either way, no one's going to beat Boston the way I saw Boston play the other night. I mean, Boston is incredible.
Okay.
And a couple of people in the chat, JT, more on Russell Wilson. I think a cheap deal is better. I love Russell Wilson for free, which is 1.9. 1.9. Harry Ruiz, often in this slot when I'm not here. The Latino voice of the Silver and Black does a lot of radio. Harry, good to talk to you. I'm going to start off with Russell Wilson for 1.9 veteran minimum. Would you kick the tires with him?
Why not, right? The thing is that if you bring in Russell Wilson, it's pretty much a done deal that you're handing him off the reins to be the starting quarterback. So no competition would be going on there, because I know everyone knows what went down in Denver when they brought him in for way more than the veterans minimum, and they pretty much gave him the building, right? And when Sean Payton came in, it was a different deal. So I think it would definitely be interesting, especially with the kind of money that he already is going to be making from Denver and not costing the Raiders. So it would be fun for sure.
Yeah, and Kirk Cousins, you like him at a value price because he wants another guaranteed contract. And if he didn't blow out his Achilles, I'd be open to a guaranteed big money contract for him. But coming off an Achilles tear, I don't like giving quarterbacks big guarantees.
Yeah, and it 100% makes sense. And heck, when you talk about Kirk Cousins, you talk about one of the best negotiators in the NFL.
Yeah,
he did in Washington, and then what he did in Minnesota, getting big contracts on short terms and being able to cash in. And you see the value of the quarterback, how even like some mid-tier quarterbacks are making $30 million a year. If you want a quarterback like Kirk Cousins, you know it's going to be $40 million and up. So he's gonna make bank this offseason, either it be in Minnesota or elsewhere. And that's the situation right now. It's the most important position in football, and the values. Look at Baker Mayfield. He put on himself last season, and now he's going to cash in this year too. So there's a lot of options right there that you could either gamble with some guys or with low values or high values.
Harry Ruiz joins us here on Raider Nation Radio. Where do you stand on Jaden Daniels? You know, he was around the team a little bit at the end of the regular season. Antonio Pearson, the connection. Some teams think he could go number 2 to the Washington Commanders now over the Patriots at 3. I think we all understand that the Raiders like him a lot, and he loves the Raiders.
Yeah, and I mean, the relationship he has with Antonio Pierce makes it like a storybook situation where you hope that everyone has that happy ending, and you can talk about something like Jack Jones last year, where Jack Jones, he was a guy that played high school and college for Coach Pierce, and now he's doing it at the pros, and everyone is thinking, hey, that could be a situation that happens in Vegas. And obviously, Jaden Daniels is a hell of a player. You know, Jaden Daniels sort of those mock drafts towards the end of the year with all the performances he was having in LSU and eventually being the Heisman Trophy winner that puts him in a very exclusive club. And he earned it. He deserves it, and I wouldn't be surprised if he goes number 2. I think number 1 is a lock, even though there's people that are saying now that Jaden Daniels might be getting looked at for that position. I think it's 1, Caleb Williams. 2 is the big question mark. If Drake May gets taken by Washington, I would be picking up that phone if I were in front office and trying to get Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, and I don't know why the Patriots wouldn't take Jaden Daniels at number 3. If he turns out to be a stud and they blow it after having Tom Brady and trying Mac Jones and Bailey Zappi and everything they did, and they have to look back 10, 20 years from now and say we could add Jaden Daniels, that's interesting. But look, we know Arizona doesn't need a quarterback. The Giants still have to deal with Daniel Jones. Harry, I'm putting in my work now trying to get my list together of the top free agents in a couple of positions here for the Raiders. My goal is for the Raiders to get an offensive lineman, which would be either a right guard or a right tackle, and then get a defensive tackle proven in free agency. There's going to be a few there, and the Raiders are going to have a little bit extra money than originally planned a couple of months ago.
Yeah, when you talk about the money that they might be getting if Jimmy Garoppolo gets released, or when, is what a lot of people are asking for. And then all that money that is coming in with the cap space increasing, that's music for all the front offices' ears, and exclusively the Raiders. When you talk about defensive tackle, you'd like to go out there and try to get a Christian Wilkins or a Chris Jones, who's going to be staying in Kansas City. But there's a lot of interesting options, but also the offensive line. It's been 2 years, back-to-back years, where in 2022 it was the running game that was going, but the passing game that wasn't. And then in 23 it was the protection of the quarterback that was working, but not the rushing game. You want to be able to complement the guys that you have in there in the right way. So it all starts in the trenches. Of course, the quarterback is the most important position in football. So 1, on your offense, you need to protect the guy. And 2, on the defense, you need to take down the opposing quarterback. So the trenches, that's what it's all about. And Antonio Pierce is a former pro player and a Super Bowl champion. He knows that more than anybody.
Harry Ruiz is our guest. Harry, when you look at the depth of the team on defense, I mean, one more player on defense on the front. And look, those who rumored about Khalil Mack and Telesco's connection, he's connected with a lot of players, and the Chargers are going to let players go. I just think a defensive tackle with Malcolm Kuntz accelerating Tyree Wilson has to play. I mean, Tyree Wilson's got to get more snaps, and that might be on the interior because Kuntz did really well. And then a defensive tackle that doesn't come off the field on 3rd down, if he's a stud, then you can move Tyree Wilson in there with the rookies or the new class of guys that are coming in, or the other defensive tackles that haven't really popped yet for the Raiders. But I still love defensive tackle because it takes the heat off of Max. And Max it's a lot of wear and tear on Max. He had a couple of surgeries, the thumb and the knee. And I don't think Max should play every play, but he's going to play every play. He's not going to come off the field. And Malcolm Kuntz seems to be ascending. As you were calling the games last year in the booth, what did you see from Malcolm Kuntz and how the Raiders can build around him?
I saw Malcolm Kuntz gain confidence. And last year he played more snaps than in his previous season combined since he became a pro. And that is something that elevates the player's game as well. Some of the other guys the Raiders drafted last year, like the
Monday throat.
Or Byron Young, they didn't get snaps in the way that it's going to raise their confidence. Tyree Wilson, he started getting more playing time as the season. He kept advancing, and what happened? He became an impact player. Malcolm Kuntz, he got thrown into the fire because of the Chandler Jones situation, and he ended up struggling at times. But then after the midway of the season came through, you noticed that he was a player that he knew that he deserved to be there. He knew that he could go in there and challenge any player that was in front of him. And that confidence made him sack Patrick Mahomes 3 times in Kansas City, made him a player that became a menace for the opposing squads, knowing that, hey, if I block Max Crosby, well, I still got a problem. If I got a double block over there, I got this guy on the other side, Malcolm Kuntz, that we got to take care of. So it's just the progress of a player's NFL career. And year number 4, it's going to be huge for Malcolm Kuntz. And hopefully the in-home guys that the Raiders drafted, like the Kuntz, like a Tyree Wilson, like a Max Crosby, they are the base of that defense.
Harry, as we wrap it up, I want to know from you what your best case scenario would be this offseason. So if you add in free agency and the first couple of picks in the draft, how much closer will the Raiders be? I've been telling my friends, if the Raiders are lucky to get Russell Wilson for nothing, and then they come out of the tunnel with Max, Russell Wilson, Josh Jacobs comes back, and Devontae, they're in the playoffs automatically. Russell Wilson, they're in because he's just too good. And he's been great, and he lived in the playoffs his entire career. But I know that probably won't happen. So with the quarterback being a question mark, free agency being a positive, and some pretty high draft picks, give me what you're looking forward to in the next 2 months that could really change the outlook of the team going into the regular season.
I mean, you look at, if you go through one of the final depth charts of the season, you're talking about 4 offensive starters potentially being free agents, 3 defensive starters being potentially free agents. And obviously the O-line, you got 3 guys there that could be testing the waters. On the D-line, you got 2 guys as defensive tackles when you talk about Bilal Nichols, John Jenkins, and potentially even Adam Butler, who was part of that rotation. So it's best case scenario for the Raiders. Of course, I think if they can get Russell Wilson pretty much for free, I would go for it. I still think he has some gas in the tank. He wasn't put in the best position of success out there in Denver with all that drama they had with Hackett, with all that drama they had with Sean Payton. So I think it would be a great situation for the Raiders to get Russell Wilson. If not, then you got to invest all your resources that you have, or big resources when you talk about potentially going up in the draft. But getting the quarterback, getting the right situation, and look, there's a lot of swings and misses in the NFL when it comes to quarterback.
Yeah, there is.
I wouldn't blame the Raiders if they swing and miss, but I'm hoping a lot that it's a swing and they get a home run off of it. So get the right quarterback in the building, protect them, get the other guys. So it's all, the good thing is that we got all these things. Combine just went through. Now we got free agency. Then we got the draft, and then we got that wait until August when we get those preseason games.
Yes, that's for sure. Harry, good to talk to you. We'll talk to you in a week or 2. Always appreciate you joining me.
Always a pleasure, Juan. Take care. And
You got it.
well.
You got it, my buddy. There's Harry Ruiz, and you catch him here all the time. You can watch and listen on the YouTube app. Just go to JT the Brick YT. We are up and running. My youngest is in studio with me today. Got it all set up. His dad's not a tech guy. Just not. I missed the boat on the tech guy. We're going to figure this out and have a lot of fun with this. Whenever I do the show live from the Raiders, when we do all those podcasts, they got a big team of people at the Raiders with cameras and lighting and all that. And we're going to get that going now here on Raider Nation Radio. Q's back. I saw Q in the hallway. He's back from the combine. Round of applause for Q, who put that all together and did a great job putting that all together so Vinny and Q could do live radio interviews and give us the behind the scenes of everything that's happened here. We're shut out, right, Bobby? We're shut out through 40 minutes. I'd like to know when I'm getting shut out, because then I start throwing bombs. 702-365-9200 as we get going here. Vinny's in for me Thursday, Friday, another Florida trip, family trip in and out. I'll be back on Monday. So good week this week. A lot happening off the air too, which I'm excited to tell you about. We are brought to you by Remy Martin. Team up for excellence. Oh, the Remy Martin connection with us is big. Got a remote coming up with La Casa Cigars, Remy Martin, and the Black Hole right around the corner at La Casa Cigars. Tivoli Village is the place to be. We'll take the YouTube stream to the top of the hour. So if you want to jump in and see what we're doing, go ahead and do that. YouTube, JT the Brick YT. And more on the quarterback hunt for the Raiders. Is this the year they get a franchise quarterback? Yeah, we'll do one more, the short one, and you can take all the stuff and go. Yeah. Yeah. So, the importance of all this, you're seeing why we got to get this kind of going.
That's pretty convenient.
What?
Like, if we got a new Mac.
Well, why is this Mac frozen?
That's what I'm saying. I'm not the biggest fan of it.
All right.
They
So we're not going to get a Mac.
Well, I have a bunch of softwares in school, like documents and all that stuff. But it just freezes sometimes and just and like lag sometimes.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
And that's not good if you're streaming. So just connecting to the Wi-Fi and plugging that in, it works.
Yeah.
Really well.
Appreciate everybody on the chat. I'm on Mad Dog Sports Radio tonight, 4 to 7 p.m. Pacific, 7 to 10 Eastern. Oh, any other breaking news today?
Your Knicks are done.
Is he out or no?
It looked like it.
What did he do? Was it his elbow or his knee? Yeah, but he didn't.
I don't know. It looked weird.
Macs are pretty good, JT. We use them all over major recording studios, brother. That comes from Brother Raider.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Yeah. What's a brand new? What does this MacBook cost? What's the best deals on that?
You can get good deals.
We're going to go to the place on Sunset and Eastern.
You should just go like to it. What's it called though? You just check them out. Whatever you like is gonna work.
Well, my family doesn't understand, Bobby's. I don't want to do anything. I want them to pick it for me because they know more and set it up so I can get to work. You know, I'm not an engineer. I'm not a YouTuber. I'm just a guy who talks for a living. I don't build studios. I don't buy microphones. I just talk. We got that Jason Kelce sound.
Got them both.
Come out with one and I'll throw to the other.
We're going to play the snow game then.
Yep. And then the other one's his retirement. Okay. Yep.
Golden Knights got Columbus today.
The Golden Knights home or away?
That's the last road game. They're back.
Columbus Blue Jackets.
They better win this one.
Well, they're in trouble, man. They got to get going.
3 and 7 in the last 10.
3 of 7. Wow. Wow.
You can pretty much figure the Stones done, but you might get him back in the playoffs, maybe.
Right.
Michael's been skating, so he'll probably be back this week or next.
Philly Zach Wheeler, 3 years, $126 million. Come on, dude, $126 million for 3 years. Wow. Yeah, I mean,
Zach Wheeler, I thought that was the Mets that pretty much the
Mike Evans getting 26 million years.
yeah.
He's the grandkids that throw left field.
Yeah, you got to throw lefty. Philly's got money, dude.
Seen and heard the TV and radio ads from personal injury attorneys selling you on who wins more, who's largest, and who could pay the most.
Premium coming up too.
If you
Yeah.
really want to know who you should call if you've been hurt, ask the people who know, the clients. I'm Justin Watkins with Battleborn Injury Lawyers, and we pride ourselves on our customer service.
You didn't do Serious X today, and you've got 4 to 7 today, correct?
Yep.
1400 for a free consultation.
We'll use TJ for that tonight.
Okay.
Yeah.
Welcome back to
All
the
right.
JT the Brick Show. Brought to you by Modelo Especial, the new #1 beer in the U.S.
I won't forget walking out onto a snowless field for warm-ups, I guess for the Detroit Lions, and then walking out of the tunnel to a blizzard. The Lions in white jerseys blended into the snow so well I could not see the secondary of the defense. The second half was all Sean McCoy. He somehow figured out a way to cut on a dime that day. And man, it was incredible to watch. It was probably the most fun game of football I've ever been in. It felt like we were all kids again that day.
Jason Kelce of the Eagles announced his retirement today. Pretty deep speech. Everybody should watch it. It's streaming everywhere. You can go to NFL.com to see it. The fighting spirit of Modelo. Yeah, let's toast to Modelo to Jason Kelce for everything he was able to do. Thanks to Steve Gomez and the Modelo team. We sat with them at rugby for most of the game, had a great time out there. So Jason Kelce in tears, his retirement press conference earlier today. Here's more from Jason Kelce in the announcement.
So this all brings us here to today, where I announce that I am retiring. Where I announce I'm retiring from the NFL after 13 seasons with the Philadelphia Eagles. And today, I must admit, I am officially overrated. Vastly overrated. It took a lot of hard work and determination getting here.
That was good. I mean, for Jason Kelce, what I wanted to bring up today in my business, if you're in podcasting, radio, doing what he's doing, I don't recall a guy who's climbed the ladder this quickly. I don't. In the history of podcasting, the history, Joe Rogan, Bill Simmons, it's always been a slow rollout with podcasts. If you want to get into the podcast business, it's hard. Everybody can have a podcast. I have a podcast right now. This is live on YouTube. It's a podcast. It's a radio show. After the show, Bobby puts it up on lvsportsnetwork.com. It becomes a podcast. Anybody can have a podcast, and I encourage it. Why not? You talk and see if you can get people to listen and come back. I don't recall anybody other than Jason Kelce and his brother, but Travis Kelce's more of a superstar, mainstream, more than Jason Kelce was supposed to be. Now Kelce is a superstar in the podcast and media world. He get any job he wants. He wants to be on Fox. They got Tom Brady coming in. If he wants to go to ESPN, he'll be doing games in the booth. He'll be doing pregame shows. He'll be doing his podcast, and he's going to make millions in retirement. There's a lot of athletes that go into retirement and they can't make any money. They hope they can buy a car dealership. They want to do something. They want to extend it because they're only in their 30s or 40s. Jason Kelce in the media is going to be a multi-millionaire going forward from scratch on top of his retirement and everything he has in his family. It's going to be pretty special to watch him. The only other guy I saw make a bigger jump than him media-wise was Tony Romo. Tony Romo never called the game, and he set the bar and was the highest paid guy before he ever called the game. And Tony Romo's really good. You might get kind of weird about him from time to time. He calls the plays. But the money speaks. I say this about my friend Stephen A. Smith all the time. You might not like him. He's the highest paid guy in media now. About to become the highest paid media guy of all time. Like when you become the highest paid media guy in 2024, you're not surpassing someone in 1986. You're surpassing someone in 2023. So when you look at the names of the people that are in the business, Shannon Sharp is exploding just with not only media, but his social media is at the top with his podcast and all this. There's some people making buku bucks because they're recognizable names and they slid into this podcast world and people really like it. But Travis Kelce was there today for Jason Kelce. His wife was there. His kids were there. And it was highly emotional. His mom was there. And the only thing that would have been better for me is if Travis Kelce was there and he didn't win the Super Bowl, but he won the Super Bowl. And they're going for a three-peat in Kansas City, and we have to stop that at all cost. Have to stop that at all cost. So hour number one down. I think we're going to have a really good conversation coming up. TJ Reeves will join us. He's the Buccaneers sideline reporter on Mike Evans' deal, but more importantly, the market for Baker Mayfield. I don't hear a lot of people talking about this. Why is it assumed that Baker Mayfield shouldn't get offers from other teams? Why is it assumed that Baker Mayfield shouldn't get an offer from the Raiders that Tampa Bay has to match? Baker Mayfield's available, everybody. He's a hell of a player. Kirk Cousins is available. We're not talking about Jacoby Brissett and Carson Wentz here. We're talking about guys who could still play. We're brought to you by the 872 Laborers. They put on a good show for the Infinity Race on Saturday, led by Tommy White. And congratulations to A.J. Cole. Drivers, start your engine. Good chance to see him on the track as the flyover went over. Beautiful day at the track at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway yesterday. Hour number two on deck. All right, son, you're good. I want to thank everybody on this, and we'll get this thing going, man. We'll try it again tomorrow. We'll see if it worked. I thought it went well. Raider Nation, I'll be great with Baker, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I don't know how to hit that. Yeah, pick the camera. Yep. See everybody. Hey, appreciate everybody coming in today. We'll do more than an hour tomorrow. Do me a favor, share this with everybody. Put it out there. If you can send a link to your friends and hit like and subscribe. Everybody who's in here today, please subscribe, and we'll do it again tomorrow. Thank you.